Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the Empowered Hour. I am so excited today because I have a motivational speaker, author, and gosh, you're like the jack of all trades, Jen.
You think so?
Yeah, you're like all over the place. You've got a whole bunch of stuff you're doing. I just wanted to introduce you, but then also have you share a bit more about the work that you're doing, just so that people can hear from you
Sure.
and you know you best. So go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes. So I am a professional speaker and I've been doing this now for, I hate to even say it out loud, 34 years. So I worked for a startup for 10 years as a trainer. And then I ended up going out on my own at 29, 28, just about to be 29. And I have been speaking independently around the world for 24 years since then. And so yeah, I've written several books and I love what I do. I focus primarily on women. And so it's important to me, just like you, to empower women to break out of their, self-imposed beliefs, limitations, all of that. And I also have a nonprofit. So that's part of that. Like I've got all that stuff going on. I have a nonprofit where I help at-risk families, and these are families who are fleeing devastation and risk in their own countries, and they have been brought through our system to be able to claim asylum. So
Oh,
these are
wow.
families that are terrorized, and so I work with them. And so yeah, I've just got a lot going on, and it's all great.
What inspired you to start your nonprofit?
It was, I guess, in 2018, I live in Arizona now. And so we were having a big crisis at the border, and people were hearing about this, in 18, and it was being used in the election, to kind of scare people about what was going on. And it was really bad, living on a border state and hearing about this. And so, as it turns out, I ended up getting a call one night, and somebody said, there are some families that are going to be left on the street. We need someone to take them in for the night. And so that's what started it. I brought two families in and ended up just having my life changed by these two gentlemen and their sons. And so I just knew I had to do something. I needed to do more than just bring them in for the night. And so it was at that point that I decided to create a nonprofit that would actually help them. And so I actually take them into custody. So when ICE releases them and they are a part of the asylum process, I get custody of them until we can get them to their families.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's a really beautiful process. We have helped 48,000 people come through Arizona.
Oh
Yeah.
my
So
gosh.
it's a big deal. It's an important deal. And it just makes my heart sing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
very rewarding.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking about, you are a motivational speaker and you've been doing this for so many years. And usually, to become a motivational speaker, you have to have gone through certain things in your life to build up to that point and get you to where you are. So, what's the why behind your motivational speaking?
Well, like everybody else, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to do 50 things, before I graduated. So I never really knew what my plan was. And I went to college and I wasn't really doing well at college because I was for the first time going to big, huge parties, and I didn't have you know, a, what am I trying to say? A curfew. And so I was really failing out. And my mom brought me to a women's conference, and I'll never forget sitting there and seeing Joan Rivers as the keynote speaker and
Ah,
being just absolutely thunderstruck. And I knew that what she was making me feel and what I was experiencing in that moment, because it was just like I was a live wire. I knew when it was done that that's what I was going to do. And so it was always about, being in front of people, being around women, because that was a women's conference. And it all came full circle eventually when I started to work for Discover Card when they were a startup. I was 19 years old and I got a job as a trainer for them. I was there for almost a full 10 years. And as it turns out, my first job, independently speaking, was working on the National Women's Conference, which is where the thunderbolt had struck when I had been 18. And so the big why happened really early on, but as an adult now, I understand that it's about women. It's about
Yeah.
breaking down those self-imposed limitations and beliefs that hold them back. And I feel really strongly that women are just better at leading people, better at leading businesses, better at negotiating, better at communicating. They just are better in a leadership role. And I believe that comes from, frankly, just being mothers, and a long line of that matriarchy. And so that's really the why that I developed, but I knew pretty early I wanted to be a speaker, but the why just developed over time because I believe so strongly in women.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Now, you
thanks.
speak a lot about deep bravery. Can you talk some more about deep bravery so the audience here knows what that is for them and
Sure.
a bit more? Yeah, that would be great.
Sure. So I believe that many women are held back by this sort of feminine dilemma. That's what I call it, the feminine dilemma. I've got kids, I've got responsibilities, I've got to keep the house clean, I've got to, be all things to all people. And we have certain expectations that have culturally been given to us. And that could be from family, from religion, from the part of the country you were raised in. I mean, who knows, right? And so we've got this feminine dilemma that we've got to be all things to all people. And that's strong, those kinds of I guess mores and values and rules that we've been raised with and had imposed upon us, those are really strong, especially when you're talking about cultural values and familial values and religious values. And so it really takes a lot more than a motivational speaker and coach to get you to change your behaviors when
Yeah.
you're talking about longstanding stuff, right? And so it's my belief that making change, the big stuff that goes against cultural values. For instance, think about people that who've gotten a divorce and they're the first in their long family line of getting a divorce, and there's all this, stigma around that, or deciding to have a business after being in a religious environment that says you stay home and your primary focus is to have kids, right? And so those are not just decisions that you make because you have a motivational speaker, right? They're decisions that really take deep, deep bravery. And it's the kind of bravery that you're going to lose something, but you know that it's worth enough. And that comes from fear that is so extraordinarily deep. The thought that if you stay, there is no way you can breathe one more day. It's the biggest decisions. And it really is about recognizing that we were all put on this planet to do something huge. We were put on this planet to share our talent, whatever that talent is that we've been given to share. And sometimes that talent doesn't get acknowledged because we're so mired in the values and the mores and the rules of where we're from. And so deep bravery is when you realize you are going to lose something and you've got to dig so deep and believe so strongly in it that you're willing to risk it all. And that's a scary place to be, but it literally is the gateway to being able to live your life authentically, radically authentic, so that you can step into that talent and for lack of a better term, like destiny of what you're here to do, right? So
Yeah. So, when it comes to the motivational speaking, you just felt like you needed to do more. You have an academy,
I
right?
do. I
Yeah.
do.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you. I have a women's academy that is online. So it's an online academy that gives women the opportunity to learn online. And so let me back up and just say real quickly that, I'm a professional speaker. So I speak in front of large audiences and I do things in person. And when I'm on stage, I get clients from there. That's my client source, if you will. And so COVID did a number on me, right? Because
Oh gosh, yeah.
I can't be on stage. And if I'm not on stage, I'm not getting new clients. And so COVID just like nailed me. And I had to really come up with something that was powerful and it still put me in the position to teach and lead and do all the things that I believe in, but I had to learn to do it differently. And so the online academy is different level of training courses. One might be 7 days, another might be a month. You might have some actually that are 6 months. I even have women's conferences where we have 6 speakers coming in to be a part of that. We've got mastermind groups and group coachings, one-on-one coachings. I have other women who are coming in to speak and give their course on the academy. So it really is sort of a one-stop shop for women to be able to get different types of trainings that they need, whether it's communication or leadership, or, you need a reboot. There's a reboot up right now. Maybe it's empowerment. We're doing an empowerment series on the 20th. So, it's all about creating a space for women to not only build their skill set, but get the coaching they need and create the squad of support. And I believe so strongly in that squad.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
So
called the HERstory Collaborative. That's what it's called.
nice. All
Yeah.
right. And then that'll also be in the links in the bio. So if you need to check that out, definitely do. Another thing too is, when it comes to your personal squad, who is it in your life who really inspires you?
Oh my gosh. So I have a group of women who are such rock stars. It's insane. So I do a lot of stuff in my community, right? And I told you about the nonprofit and whatnot. And so I'm really, really civically connected, and I like to be involved, and I like to get my hands dirty and all of that. And so I noticed that there are all these women in our community. I live in Phoenix, and they are just rock stars. Like, each one of them in different areas just stood out as a leader. And so I didn't know any of them deeply. I knew some of them, but I knew all of them by name, and they knew me by name, but none of us knew each other. And I decided 3 years ago that I was going to put together a Galentine's Day, because
Ah,
I know, because I believed if these 12 women could be in one room together, that it would be fate. That it would absolutely be magic, and these 12 women would probably rule the world. So they all came to this rooftop that I had reserved. And ever since then, this group of women are the best of friends. We call ourselves the matriarchy. And they're the most inspiring group of women you've ever seen. Some deal with politics. Another one is a frontline, actually, two of them are frontline nurses. Another one deals with women's reproductive rights. Another one is dealing with kids with disability. Another one deals with kids that don't have period supplies, and she has an organization that
oh,
provides
that's so
that.
cool.
And they
Yeah,
just go on and on and on. And so I feel like I've got the most incredible circle of women around me. And I'm actually in awe that they're my friends, because they're just so accomplished, and they inspire me every day, and they're my squad.
that's so cool. Yeah, it's nice when you find your tribe, your group of women who really, they get you, they understand you, and then they also push you to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Now, you also mentioned rigorous empowerment. Can you just explain a little bit about that to me?
Sure. So I kind of believe that everything is about recognizing that change doesn't just happen because some book told you to make a change, right? It would be so great, and
Yes.
I would be so rich if it was that easy, right? To just tell someone, here's your slogan, go do it. It would be fab. But that's just not the way that we have to go through life. And it takes radical authenticity to be able to say, I'm hurt, I'm not happy, this isn't working for me, this isn't what I thought it would be, and I need help, right? And so I'm constantly telling women to step out and find those spaces where they're uncomfortable. And that, to me, is rigorous empowerment. Going into something that you think, oh my gosh, my hands are sweating, oh my gosh, I might do something and be laughed at, right? Having a show like you do, like, that's unbelievable. And 99% of us could never do that, right? And so it's pushing yourself and going into spaces that are scary, and trying things, or speaking up, or making adjustments in your life that are absolutely terrifying. And I talked about deep bravery earlier, but it's empowering yourself constantly, giving yourself permission constantly. When I brought up earlier that whole feminine dilemma, that whole thing keeps us in a box and tells us this is how we should be. This is what a nice girl will do, right? I heard that my whole life,
Yeah.
right? Sit a
Hmm.
certain way, dress a certain way, keep your, be seen and not heard, be quiet kind of stuff. And so rigorous empowerment is saying you have every right to do that. You have every shot at killing it. You have every cheerleader standing behind you knowing you're going to nail it. Like that's the kind of life that I want for women. And does that mean that I'm fearless? Never, never. Like it, being brave and being empowered and being authentic, none of that means I'm fearless. It just means that when I step into it, I'm willing to endure the fear so
Yes.
that I can get this thing, this experience or this achievement, And I remember years ago, I was getting a divorce and I totally lost myself in that marriage, right? And
Mm.
I was in my 30s and I'd always been this like really, well, what you're seeing, this really empowered person. And I just went flat. And I decided I was going to have sort of a year of living dangerously, if you will, like my Eat, Pray, Love, like the book.
Yes.
And I was going to do that. And I did. And it was a series of decisions that I made every day to do things alone that scared me and that I'd never done before. Those were important things for me because I'd always been with him or I'd always been, surrounded by a flock of friends. And I decided that that's what I was going to do. And I moved back to California to the coast and I wanted to make sure that I could paint. I needed views. I wanted to paint. I wanted to eat alone every day. I wanted to learn to surf. I wanted to make sure that I could go to the movies by myself, or I could go to, there was a college that would do plays. I'd go to those by myself, really close to our house. And so I started to do all these things because it was my year of being rigorously empowered. And every day it scared me because I was living in a brand new beach city that I'd never lived in before. And I was living in LA and I'm an Orange County person. And this was like so different and edgy to be out there. But my whole family was in, a completely different county. And every day was like that. But it was the greatest year of my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar year.
Yeah.
So I love that. I think that women need to go through that process of empowerment, that understanding that they can do it on their own.
Yeah.
They are capable of doing it on their own. I
Mhm.
had my last relationship. I remember when it ended, and um, I left, and it was really hard. But I just remember crying to one of my friends, and I was just like, "How am I gonna survive?" And she's like, "Oh my God, you run a business, you ran a nonprofit. Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
you are gonna do just fine."
Yeah.
And then I did similar stuff with road trips and going to different places every weekend. It
Mhm.
was a really wonderful time. So I think that it
Yeah.
is important. It's that that journey and awakening that you
Yeah.
have.
I
Uh,
remember reading a book that was called something along the lines of um, something about dancing naked in the rain, but it was some other great stuff. And I can't remember, dancing at midnight in the rain or something, naked, whatever. So but I remember that the woman had done that. And it was right on the heels of Eat, Pray, Love. And I was like, that's it. I am going to just suck it up and practice what I preach. And this is going to be my year of living dangerously. And it wasn't dangerous. It was just that my body tells me it's dangerous because I hadn't done these things alone. Right.
yes.
So, yeah, it was a big,
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing that story with me. And I had one more question
yeah.
before wrapping up. I just wanted to know if you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it have been?
Mm. You know, this goes totally against the way that I like to live, in terms of like, don't live with regrets and all of that. But there's something in me that regrets not traveling far early on in my life.
Mm.
Like in college, I regret not going to study overseas. I regret that I didn't go backpacking, across, I don't know, Zimbabwe. when I, for an entire summer. Like those are some things that I think I would have done differently. And I think I would have told myself to explore more. The world is so big and it's a lot cheaper when you don't care where you sleep as a college grad or whatever than it is when you are older and it seems like creature comforts are now necessary, But I think I would have done more exploring. I'm happy to say that I have been to every single state several times and I've been to, well, I think it's 8 countries,
Oh,
but
wow.
it's not a lot when you really think about how huge the world is. So I wish I would have done more of that when I was younger so that I had that experience, to start the foundation of my life. I think that's what I would have told myself. Travel more, do more things alone.
Mm. Sound advice. I think about that myself now that I'm on an island in paradise, but also
Oh,
thinking, wow, where could I go? What could I do? What are certain places that I'd like to visit after all of this?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So how can people find
People can find me through my website, which is Jen Buck, Buck, like money, Jen Buck Speaks. And it's .com. So jenbuckspeaks.com. And on there, you can see the HERstory Collaborative link to the online academy. And you'll also see the books and the podcast there, which is also by the name HERstory Collaborative. And I'm on every social media platform under Jen Buck Speaks. Like it's consistent everywhere. So
Awesome. And she also has all of that in the bio as well. So go check that. Follow her work. It's in the description.
thank,
So yeah, thank you so much, Jen, for coming on. Really appreciate your time.
thank you. I love doing it. I appreciate you.